G'day, my name's Tucker. In the first video of this series I talked about how we can emphasize the 3 and the 7 in a chord to really make the sound of that chord. But the solo that I played to demonstrate this technique was a little bit chunky. So for the first 2 bars of C major I played a couple of phrases, and then I just stopped. Switched over to the C minor, played a bit more, stopped again, went back to the C major. So it wasn't very smooth. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video, how to play this chord change a little bit more smoothly. Now each chord has got a set of notes that goes with it that you can choose from to play as that chord is happening. So here are the notes that you can play over a C major 7 chord, and here are the notes that go over a C minor 7 chord. And what I want to do is start playing using this set of notes, and then as the chord change happens, slowly switch over to using these notes. So I like to think of it as morphing the 2 sets of notes. We've all seen morphing on the telly. And in music it's the same kind of thing. I want to start out with this set of notes and gradually morph into this set of notes as I'm playing my melodic line. Now what the video guys do is they have a starting image and they have an end image, and then they identify what's different about the 2 images and then gradually transition the start image so that it finishes up as the end image. And in music it's the same. I have a starting chord that has a particular sound. I have an ending chord that sounds a little bit different. I need to identify what's different about them and then gradually change the sound of what I'm playing from the first chord to the last chord. Now when you're just starting out doing this kind of thing, the problem that everyone has is that there's just too much to think about. You have to remember what notes go with the first chord, what notes go with the end chord, and how to make that transition all the time while you're playing something that's melodically interesting. I mean, it's just overload, it's too much. So here's a technique that you can use that'll help you get started doing this. Mini riffs are a short musical phrase, too short really to be called a full riff, but are there to help us get the sound of a particular music idea into our heads. Here's a 3-note example that highlights the sound of going from the minor 3 to the major 3. If you know your blues at all, you might recognize this as the start of the famous T-Bone Shuffle riff from Albert Collins. The important thing to remember when you work with mini riffs is to practice them in all 12 keys. In this particular case, if we change the riff to other keys, the notes will all be different, and the mechanics of how you play them on your particular instrument will be different, but the musical idea remains the same. And this is what we're trying to get into our heads, because ultimately the goal is to start thinking about music in terms of playing musical ideas rather than specific notes. We start off by coming up with a bunch of mini riffs that really capture the sound of the C major 7 chord. As you can see, each one is using the major 3 and major 7 to really convey the particular sound of this chord. Then we do the same thing for the C minor 7 chord. Now all we have to do is pick one from the left column, one from the right column, and stick them together. So let's try this one and this one. This is what we get. We have the major 3 here to give the first half of the phrase its major sound, and the flat 7 here gives the second half its minor sound. And we have the weak chord tones, the 1 and the 5, all over the place to really help fill out the sound of both of the C chords. The major and minor chords only differ in their 3 and their 7 notes. So by running them together, we can really highlight the fact that the chord is changing. So let's pick a major mini riff that ends in a 3 and pick a minor one that starts with the flat 3. When we put them together, this is what we get. Because the 3 and the flat 3 are only semitone apart, we get a very smooth transition between the 2 chords. And the first half of the phrase in the major key just flows very easily into the second part in the minor key. Sometimes just sticking 2 mini riffs together will give you something that sounds a bit awkward or odd, but there's no reason why you can't change things around a bit to try and make it sound better. We're not trying to come up with riffs here to learn and remember. This is just a technique that you can use to help you get used to transitioning between the chords. So for example, if I take this one, and I'll put a passing note in between them to make the transition a bit smoother. This has the effect of pushing all the notes in the second mini riff back by half a beat, which really changes the way it sounds. What we're actually doing is playing a walking bass line, so a really simple melodic line that outlines the shape and sound of each chord. And once you've got the hang of that, all you really need to do is beef up the melody a little bit, add some rhythmic variation, and there's your solo. You're playing through the changes. As I said before, it's really important that you do all of these exercises in 12 keys, not only because it really helps you get the sound of each of these musical ideas into your head, but also because sometimes some things are just easier in one key than they are in another. So you might be playing an F sharp and a really nice lick just pops out that would never have come out if you only worked in the key of C. The first video we looked at how to make the sound of each chord, so that's our start and end point, and in this video we looked at the bit in the middle, how to transition between the two chords. Now transitioning between major and minor is a fairly easy chord change to play through, so in the next video we'll look at something a bit more difficult, but until then, go practice.